Hello, this is Dr. Glenn Kaiser here, and I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration on how to do active reading, which is really very simple. It's just a good habit that you need to get into. So just to start, when we ordinarily think about reading, I think a lot of us just think we start at the beginning, we just read forward, we get to the end, and that's it. The problem with that kind of passive reading is that, at least in my experience, and certainly for me personally, when we do that, we very often remember very little about what we read. And we can't talk about it or think about it in really complex ways. So what we recommend you do is called active reading. And that's simply the art of reading, then stopping and doing something, then reading, then stopping and doing something again. That's all it really takes, is that as you read, you stop, you think about what you read, you do something active that might involve taking a note, making an annotation, it might involve going somewhere or talking to someone, lots of different kinds of activities. But doing something active is the important thing. So I'm just going to model that a bit for you here today. This is a little story, the first 3 paragraphs of it anyway, called The Murder on Crimble, and I'm going to actively read the first couple of sentences, or just the first sentence, in fact. It was a dark and stormy night on the island of Crimble when all of us found ourselves standing at 2 o'clock in the morning around what was left of Old Man Hackett in the library of McHolly Mansion. So now I get to the end of that and I decide to stop and do something active. And I look at that sentence and I say, well, what can I talk about or think about? Well, I could certainly talk about 2 o'clock in the morning. At 2 o'clock in the morning, people are often drowsy, they're not thinking straight. I could make a little active reading annotation about that. I could talk about the opening. It was a dark and stormy night, because I think I've heard that before. So I might want to go and research that particular phrase, see if I have heard it before somewhere else. It sounds very familiar. But for me, the thing that stands out most about that first sentence is that word crimble. So I might just go down and make a little note. I can label it if I want, so I can say commentary or reaction. I can do that if I want, but I don't have to. I will in this case, and I can say, I like the sound of that word crimble. It sounds like something crumbling and snapping, like a cookie. I wonder if the author made it up. It certainly adds fun to this first sentence and makes me think that the story isn't going to be all that serious. That's it. Now I can move on. I knelt down to examine the body. Still warm. So I knew that the killer had to be close. Maybe he or she was even in the very room I was standing in. But who? All right, now I've read the first paragraph. I've done 1 active reading commentary. It probably took me 2 to 3 times as long to read that paragraph because I stopped and wrote. But now I have something that I can go back to, a note that I've made about the story that's going to allow me to do all sorts of things later, including write intelligently about the story. Let me just read my little active reading comment again. I like the sound of the word crimble. It sounds like something crumbling and snapping, like a cookie. I wonder if the author made it up. It certainly adds fun to this sentence, and it makes me think the story isn't going to be all that serious. So that's really a lot there. I'm talking about poetry, about the sounds of language and words. I can write about that. I'm talking about the tone of the story, that it isn't really serious. It's got some fun to it. That's going to let me think and talk about the story more. So really just that one little simple comment is going to allow for all sorts of things to happen later. That's really all there is to it. Obviously, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to explore some very specific ways to do active reading, very specific kinds of annotations, but just something as simple as this is really, really all you need. All right, I hope this was helpful. Take care.